I'm going to give you the insider secrets that I use that helped me sell 8 million copies of my books, hit all the major bestseller lists, get picked up in 24 different countries, and build a career that I'm super proud of. And if you're really committed to taking your book to the next level, then frankly, this is the channel for you. You can definitely get way more 5-star reviews and avoid the dreaded 1-star review by using these tips. Number one is probably the hardest thing to do. I struggle with it all the time. It's about being vulnerable on the page, not just creating characters who are vulnerable, but taking all of those inner doubts and fears and anxieties and putting them literally on the page. Jodi Picoult is a master at that. I've loved virtually everything she's written. And I just recently read The Storyteller, which is a pretty raw look at what happens after the Holocaust when a Nazi soldier wants to get forgiveness from the Jewish people that he persecuted. So it is a complicated, layered book, which is a really great way to get a 5-star review, by the way. And if you read Jodi, you will see these little nuggets of real life, of real fears, of real insecurities in her books. I've thought aloud about it, how you can ricochet from a moment where you are on top of the world to one where you are crawling at rock bottom. I've thought about all the things I could have done differently and if it would have led to another outcome. But thinking doesn't change anything, does it? And so afterward, with my eyes still bloodshot and the Frankenstein monster stitches curving around my temple and cheek like the seam of a baseball, I gave my mother the same advice she had given me. If I don't get to give up, then neither do you. That's one of the big issues that this character has, is forgiving herself for what happened with her mother. The scar that she's talking about is a big outward sign of what she's going on. But Jodi has all kinds of great lines like that. At the end of this scene, the main character is baking bread and she sets the dough aside to rise. And she has this observation that comes back again to herself, to this vulnerable little part of herself. But I love the fact that it needs to sit quietly, to retreat from touch and noise and drama in order to evolve. I have to admit, I've often felt that way myself. This character is huge on retreating and hiding from her life, from herself, from reality. And that becomes a major part of the plot. As she begins to embrace her past, embrace what she has done, embrace her mistakes, she is able to confront those demons. And so you see it even in this very beginning scene where she's sort of laying the groundwork of what she feels most vulnerable about. In addition, this character actually physically hides. She keeps her hair down over her face so that people can't see the scar that's left over from the accident that killed her mother. So her physical actions also echo what is going on inside. You want this character to kind of like embrace herself and not get over it, but deal with it so that she can welcome the life that is waiting for her. You just kind of want to give her a hug. That's the kind of character that you want to create. That means that you have to start tapping into those things that are very vulnerable and scary for you. Have you felt rejected? Have you felt afraid to be yourself? Have you dealt with being abandoned? All of those kinds of things are the emotions that you want to tap into on the page. I'm not going to lie and say it's easy. It's not. I distinctly remember the first time I dug a little deeper in my books, and it was after my mother died, and I had to write a mother-daughter road trip book that had been on contract for a while, so I didn't have a choice. Like, I had to write it. And to say that it was hard to write a mother-daughter road trip book where the mother was dying after my own mother had just died was, to put it mildly, it was really, really hard. And so I decided I'm going to take all of this that I'm feeling here, all of these unresolved feelings that I had from her dying and the questions that I had and the emotions that I had, and I'm going to put them on the page. The main character was not me. The mother was not my mother, but the emotions were the same as what I had felt. And being able to put that on the page brought that book to life in a way that others had not been. And so I learned, if I can dig into this stuff that I don't really want to dig into, but if I can, it creates a book that wins awards, that becomes a bestseller, that gets the 5-star reviews. Let's just lower your expectations a tiny bit, because not every reader is going to give you a 5-star review. I don't care who you are. You could be the best writer in the world, and not every reader is going to love what you write. That's just a fact of life. The second key to writing a book that gets 5-star reviews is giving the main character goals that other people would care about. And you do that by raising the stakes in terms of what the goal is. For instance, moving to a new city is a big goal, but not really a goal that other people care about, unless the character is trying to move there really quickly before her grandmother dies so that she can see her one last time and spend time with her and help her, or so that she can go and solve the mystery of who murdered her father. Then the stakes become higher and the reader cares more. Having a character who gets lost and is trying to find their way home is, yes, a great thing to kind of write about, But if you can raise the stakes and make it so that this character is in a completely different world, and when she left, everybody was in danger and she had left on bad terms. On top of that, she has to battle against somebody evil in order to even have a chance of leaving this alternate world and getting back to hers. That creates something that is a classic that lasts forever, known as The Wizard of Oz. That kind of raised stakes where it's not just about getting back home, it's about all these other things that other people can relate to and also stress about. That's what creates a 5-star book. That's what creates a movie that has stayed timeless. Because we can all care about and we all stress about the people that we love being safe, making amends with the people that we care about, and battling people that want to hurt us. We can all relate to that. And that creates a character that readers really love. You also need to be inventive, frankly, because if you write the same thing that everybody else has written forever, then nobody's going to be interested in it. You need to find a way. My light back there has like a poltergeist in it, and come up with something that's hopefully a new take on an old concept. If you can take something like Beauty and the Beast and turn it on its head, then you've got a story that's much more unique. Shrek was a huge hit, partly because it is a different retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Yes, he is like Beast, where he's like all growly and he likes to live by himself, but he's also a really sensitive soul who doesn't want to get his feelings hurt and who's afraid of other people and afraid of rejection. The Beauty in this movie is also a beast who worries about being rejected for her quote unquote beast side. So it took what was a classic fairy tale kind of story and turned it around. That's when you create something that people are like, oh, I love this. It also creates what's called a high concept. It's an easy to get kind of twist on a classic that has done exceedingly well. And when you can twist something that has been done and done really well, Hollywood and publishers and editors really love it. The Sopranos is The Godfather reimagined, and Mobland is The Sopranos reimagined. They're the same story with the same kind of dynamics, but just a twist on them. And so if you go to a producer or to an editor and you say, my story is The Sopranos set on Mars, then that becomes a high concept where they're like, oh, I get it. It's like a mob family on Mars. So that creates something that is really marketable and sellable. And when it's marketable and sellable, people get it right away and they are more likely to read it. And if you've done all these other things, then they're going to give it a great review. The final key to creating a book that has 5-star reviews is a reason for the character's behavior, even if they're bad people. I really, really love an anti-hero. I've just read Little Heaven by Nick Cutter, which has 3 main characters that are all sort of anti-heroes. They're mercenaries who kill people on purpose. And yet you understand why they do it as you get to know the characters. And they are not just flat serial killers. They are people that have wants and needs, and they are struggling for redemption. And so when you understand what drives them to do what they're doing and you create complicated characters, you're actually rooting for the antihero. Look at The Sopranos, which I just talked about. Tony Soprano became the kind of character that we're all rooting for. Nobody really wanted to see him die at the end, which is probably why the ending is ambiguous. Because when you added in his mother into the equation, you could understand exactly why he acts the way he does.
Babies are like animals. They're no different than dogs. Somebody has to teach them right from wrong.
And you were kind of rooting for him in this weird way. Those kinds of books surprise readers and keep them glued to the page. And that's the kind of thing that gets you a 5-star review. Now, if you're struggling with how to write a book that kind of takes that bar to the next level, drop a comment down below and ask me a question. So I started this channel as a way to teach people how to write great books, how to hold themselves to a standard where the book is really worth the reader's time. Because that's time that the reader isn't spending with their kids or their dog or their dying grandma or their job. They're spending it with you. And that to me is a huge gift that you have to honor by writing a really incredible book. So try these tips, let me know how they go for you. And in the meantime, check out this video here about how to create really emotionally deep characters so that you can make your characters come alive on the page so that the readers fall as much in love with them as you do.